For more analysis, we're joined from London by Mr. Babak Imamian, economist and political analyst. Welcome, Mr. Imamian, to Q News. Now, if, as The Economist suggests, Trump and Putin share a great men make the rules mindset, what does that actually produce in Alaska? Ceasefire or a map rewrite with a new label?
Well, thank you for your question. Now, let's take it from the President Trump perspective. First of all, he does not need to be there. This is a European war. This is a European problem.
Exactly.
President Trump could easily walk away, have a cordial relations with Europe and Russia, supply both sides, and make huge amount of money meanwhile. But the reason why he's doing that, because he actually believes that he is the peace president. He is the peace and prosperity president. And that's why he's committing to that. So this is what we have to look. So the worst scenario for Europe and Russia would be if President Trump walks away, this war would continue forever till both sides are totally exhausted. So I'm just saying how great President Trump is in this case, while a lot of Western media are just criticizing him continuously.
So, given Trump's history recognizing the Golan and Western Sahara, how likely is a settlement that implicitly rewards territorial conquest in Ukraine, and what precedent does that set beyond Europe?
Well, President Trump believes in not only peace, but prosperity. What does prosperity mean is making money, trade. And he thinks which side would actually generate more revenue for whatever land that they are occupying, because he thinks the peace will have a lot more lasting effect if the commerciality of peace is greater than war. If there is no commerciality, there is no prosperity, war will re-emerge. That is how President Trump looks at it. So looking at it, how he could have a peace, actually a trade treaty. He's looking more than anything else. Let me just say, this is not a summit about Ukraine. This is a U.S.-Russia summit, full stop.
Yes. So, yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and there is one important aspect to it, that there is a trade treaty worth $3 trillion between U.S. and Russia, which is being now negotiated right now, especially on energy sector. So that there is that important aspect which nobody's is not being covered fully.
So if land swaps are floated, is that a de facto abandonment of the post-1945 norm against changing borders by force? What stops copycats elsewhere?
I mean, I've heard that many times. We've heard Munich 1938 many times. It's just like Munich 1938 when the British gave in to Adolf Hitler, and then they say that was the cause of the World War II, the start of the World War II, appeasement of that side. We've heard that conversation many times, and we've heard that also the Russia threat, that there is that Russia threat that tomorrow they'll be in London. Now, Russia cannot even go as far as Kiev. I don't know how they are saying that Russia is such a threat to European security in such way. Historically, if you look at it, when Nazi Germany wanted to invade Poland, they needed something like 3 million troops. This is 1939. Back then, they needed 3 million. For Russia to have a serious attempt to actually have a war against Western Europe, they would need an army of at least 15 million people. It's just not there. I mean, these Russia threat, when you break it down mathematically, the numbers are not there, yet it's being mentioned constantly.
Well, Trump has toggled between pressure and praise. Do tariff threats and sanctions relief talk add up to a coherent bargaining strategy, or a series of mixed signals that Putin can game?
Well, Europeans, they just like to talk. They just like to have conferences. They have no action. So there is that side of jealousy when it comes to President Trump. On the contrary, President Trump just likes to have action, to resolve things, and to move on, to show something for his actions. Yet the politicians, they like playing politics. They like grandeur and pretending that they are doing something rather than doing something. And I think that's a big friction between these career politicians in Europe and actually a businessman now has become a politician as a President Trump.
Sir, now with Moscow scrapping its INF restraint days ago, is Russia building an escalate to negotiate ladder or preparing for a longer standoff regardless of any Alaska communiques?
Well, Russia's priority is to actually end this war as soon as possible and commit to economic development. That's what Russia wants. But they want to. The most important thing for Russia is security guarantees. We talk about Ukraine having security guarantees. We don't discuss what is Russia's security guarantees. Russia wants to have U.S. security guarantees that NATO will not attack Russia.
Yes.
That would be the first thing on the agenda today.
Yes. Well, speaking of guarantees, Zelensky's exclusion risk. If Ukraine isn't in the room today, what guarantees can prevent a deal about Kiev rather than with Kiev? What would credible security guarantees even look like?
Well, we've got to accept that there is a limit to every country how much they can do on their own. So they need to form alliances or work under the umbrella of this country or that country. Now, Ukraine has to trust what United States is doing for it. If they have no trust what President Trump is doing for them, then they should say it officially and then look for some other solution or do it on their own. That would be the way to go forward.
So, endgame honesty. If the summit produces only a truce or a freeze, what does that mean for civilians, for reconstruction? What does it mean for Europe's security costs over the next 12 months?
Well, it'll be good time for you and I because this normalization of U.S. and Russia helps reducing the threat of a nuclear conflict. This is good for the world peace. We want nuclear superpowers to be on good terms with each other. This was the mentality during the Cold War. The Cold War had two objectives. One was to nuclear superpowers don't go into war with each other. And number two, there will be no communist takeover. These were the objectives. Unfortunately, we've lost that. The European leaders have no hesitation going for a nuclear war now. They keep threatening nuclear powers and so. And also, most of the European governments are now left of politics. They are taken over by left of politics. And they still have that sort of mentality, left or communist mentality. So that's where we are right now in 2025.
Well, Mr. Babak Emamian joining us from London, thank you so much for your valuable analysis.